Hello, and welcome back to Lily's Delivery Service, where love is the ritual and every delivery is divine. So sorry, y'all, that I was late. I had to take a break after last week because a lot of stuff has been going on. Hence, why I decided to make this video in honor of the tragic things that's been going on and how to heal and recognize what's going on because it's a lot. Okay, it's a lot. So let's just get started. Okay, so since we got the pleasantries out the way, hope everyone is doing fine and welcome back. And thank you to my new subscribers. You think I don't notice, but I see y'all. Um, anyway, y'all, the killing of Charlie Kirk has put things into a chaotic stratosphere. Like the amount of vicarious trauma that's been going on, the amount of scapegoating, the amount of blame, just everything that's been going on because of this individual's untimely demise has made me realize that it's time to, call to order, bring everybody in the room and let everybody know that it's going to be okay, even though outside in the media makes it seem like you're alone. I'm letting you know that you're not. So let's do a breakdown of what's going on. Obviously, you know what happened. Charlie Kirk was a political commentator who was unfortunately killed in Utah last week while he was speaking on a college campus. Now, if you all were on TikTok and social media like I was, I got the news when it hit, and then about a couple minutes later, who was they blaming? Like in my Nene Leaks voice, like how did we get in it? How did black people get in it? Because all of a sudden there were hateful rhetorics on Twitter. Oh my gosh, there was threats to HBCU campuses. And then lastly, there was unfortunately a young black man got killed on and was found hung on Delta State University in Mississippi. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but also about healing practices, the media bias, and also black people continuing to rise to the occasion and, be there for each other, heal together, and, be resilient like we always do. So I had to get my notes on this because I want to make sure that I cover everything because this is just too much to not take seriously. So, like immediately after Charlie Kirk's killing, unaliving, whatever language you want to use, social media exploded. Just like it always does when new things come up in pop culture and in news. But it exploded to the point where it made me realize the pattern of scapegoating, especially within the black community, like not within our own community, but in society. When tragedy strikes, the black community is often placed under suspicion without evidence. We're unfairly targeted and assumed to be the criminals, which puts our black community not only in danger, it's unfair, and it's something that, let's just say it, helps white supremacy thrive and keep us in a box. However, now that we got as much knowledge, as much social media, and the news travels a lot faster, we have the ability to create our own mediums, be our own news anchors and journalists, do our own fact checking, and not take on the guilt that we don't rightfully deserve. So, and also, I want you all to think about it. Have you ever thought about or noticed patterns within the society, pop culture, where the black community was unfairly targeted or blamed for something that we did not do? Whether it is, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, but let me look at my notes. I mean, the exonerated five. I mean, everyone knows about that case back in 1989, where the five black and Latino teens were wrongfully accused of rape, and that is verified through tons of research, tons of the Netflix show, the news, the articles. Like they were exonerated. They're no longer the Central Park Five for a reason. They're the exonerated five because they were wrongfully accused of that crime. But also, y'all, oldest one in the book, not just the Tulsa massacre, but all the massacres that happened in our black communities, our businesses, our hospitals, all across the country. Not just in Tulsa. There's some in Tennessee, Kentucky, Oklahoma. Obviously, I said Oklahoma, Florida. Like anywhere that there was a black city, look into your state and your city, and I promise you, you'll find something surprising. But also Hurricane Katrina. Remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and the media painted black survivors as looters while the white survivors were called finders? I'm putting quotation marks up. But we clearly see that these cases show how tragedy or crime often become a pretext to criminalize black communities instead of helping black communities, instead of trying to level out the playing field or at least give someone a boost up in the black community. They continue to try to point the fingers at us so that, because one, they point the finger at us obviously because they know in society, white society is going to blame us anyway. That's like a given. How many times have I've watched Snap since its conception on August 20th, 2004, okay? And I cannot tell you the amount of times those white women or white men would kill their spouse and claim that they were carjacked by a black man or it was black men that came in. But that doesn't happen for no reason. That's happening because the psyche of America, the psyche of the world is racism. And obviously the darker you are in their eyes, the more criminal you are. But we know that's not true. So bear with me. Either way, this I'm not trying to be insensitive. But this killing of Charlie Kirk is crazy because it's like I didn't hear about him and know about him at all until he passed away. And I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at the fact that whether it's the far right or whoever, they're making him a martyr. And now even NFL teams are creating moments of silence to honor him. When has he even been to an NFL game? The government is threatening to deport people for talking bad about him, right? And then some other girl was arrested on campus for talking bad about him, right? Like, I do understand that this is America. We have free speech, but we do not have free of consequences. And even though a lot of people are like, well, Charlie Kirk died, speaking his opinions, like, y'all, how many of our black heroes have died speaking their opinions? Matter of fact, all of our black heroes have died speaking their opinions. Fred Hampton, MLK Jr., Malcolm X, even our musicians, Sam Cooke. I mean, like, even though he, bear with me, this is what I'm saying, is that everybody that we've ever looked up to, that we've ever counted on for real change and forward thinking, has been sabotaged in some type of way. And most likely it was their life. I mean, it's in the history. This, as much as they want to try to change history, they cannot change that. Those are facts. There are people that are still alive today that experience those things, those incidents in real time. And also JFK, assassinated for what? His freedom of speech, his opinions on politics. It's all the same thing. However, it's now being weaponized, right? Where there's these white supremacist groups, white nationalist groups online who are trying to create a race war, right? And they are looking and using any and every reason to try to target us, to try to annihilate us. And that's not going to happen. I'm here to let you know that's not going to happen. I mean, not just because there's not going to be a race war, but we as a people are, if you could look up resilience in the definition, I'm pretty sure it'd just be all of us in a barbecue somewhere in the 90s throwing up a middle finger or something, because that is us. We, black people, people of color, everyone, not everyone, people of color, but black people specifically, we have resilience in our blood, in our bones, in our spirit. in the way we walk, the way we talk, the way just being. So we are going to be okay. And honestly, if I was a white nationalist, I'd be upset too that the people that I enslaved and kidnapped and tortured and murdered bypassed me in less time that it took to enslave us. Mm. Anyway, I ain't trying to get off topic. Either way, the media is biased, okay? And the media is not our friend. It's not any of our friends, white, black, yellow, whatever. Because at any given time that they want to change the narrative and target you, they will. So the fact that people have allowed the black community to suffer and to be America or the world's scapegoat in multiple situations because it tainted their own survival, but because they were either too afraid to speak up, I don't give them a pass either. You're just as guilty. You're an accessory to the crime. But either way, let's continue. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, and also, have they ever figured out where those threats from the HBCUs are coming from? Are they tracking IEP addresses? Are they tracking cell phones? Are they getting the FBI involved? No. Well, I don't know, but I haven't heard anything. And also, the young man that got killed on Delta State University, according to news reports, and this is allegedly, they said that his parents were told that he was killed in his dorm. So why did they lie to them? And also, a lot of people don't know this, but it is statistically speaking, as a social worker, as a therapist, black Americans are now less likely to commit suicide versus other groups like Native Americans, Hispanics. However, that picture is now being interrupted because, let me see, where's my. Yes, it said, but suicide rates are rising among black youth and lack of culturally responsive mental health um, resources. Oh, let me read it all over again. Sorry, y'all. Historically, black Americans have had the lowest suicide rates compared to whites and Native American groups, but suicide rates are rising among black youth, and lack of culturally responsive mental health resources makes support harder to find. So, with that being said, not saying that that young man could not have unalived himself or committed suicide, but when in history, I'm going to say it, when in history has a black person ever committed suicide by hanging themselves? That is something on not just only a trauma level, right? There's something in our spirit, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I've had my own mental health struggles and anxiety struggles and stuff like that, and I've thought about self-harm, gotten help, gotten my medication and everything, but there was never a certain point where I thought about doing that to myself. And I feel confident to say I think a lot of black people feel the same way. I don't think a lot of black people would kill themselves that way. So to do that in the middle of a campus where there's all these cameras, all these supposedly people walking around, nobody saw nothing. I'm calling to action. We need more information. This ain't gonna just go away like y'all want it to, because something's fishy's going on. And this Charlie Kirk stuff makes me think someone intentionally targeted that young man on their own because they were just so upset, in their house, huffing and puffing. Can't believe black people are doing this. So they just go get one of them. Oh, that's what type of time y'all on. All right. Don't worry. What happens in the dark always comes to the light. The pendulum always swings back the other way. Justice will always be served. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow, but it will happen. I guarantee that. Now, also, before even Charlie Kirk died, right, I was going to talk about the Ukrainian girl that got killed, because this kind of ties into that, right? Due to the fact that that black man, whether he has mental health issues or not, was the one who attacked and ultimately killed that girl. That's one. One. That's us. Obviously. They look at us, it's like white society and other people who aren't black look at us collectively as one gigantic black person, to say it nicely. So when he did that, automatically in my mind, I was like, fuck, damn, man. Like, why? Because I knew that this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. And then also on my TikTok, I kept going off because everyone in the comments kept saying that the people on the bus weren't helping the victim because she was white. And I'm over here like, what? That's the narrative? We didn't help someone in distress because they're white? Not because they were in shock. Not because they were confused. Not because they don't know what's going on. Not because they don't know what to do. But because they automatically, oh, she's white, so I'm not going to help her. Dude, they think so low of us. That we have no humility. That's not who we are, baby. And I'm not going to let anybody paint us to be that, because that's not what we about. And I don't care what that man said after he unalived that girl. That was an individual act, not a community act. Y'all act like black people got together and was like, yeah, you go out there and sacrifice yourself and kill this one girl for what? We don't even know her, but she didn't deserve that. I can say that. But at the same time, this is just another example of society pointing or looking for any and every reason to get rid of us. And that's not going to happen because, one, our community is not stupid enough to even do stuff like that. We don't have that terroristic thinking process where we want to annihilate and take, total world domination. But that's my opinion. And y'all want us to be something evil that we're not. And that's what's troubling, because that's why I want to go into vicarious trauma. Because even if something doesn't happen to you in psychology, vicarious trauma is, let me go and make sure. Okay. Vicarious trauma is psychological impact of witnessing or hearing about others' trauma. For the black community, repeated exposure to racial violence through news, social media deepens stress, anxiety, and grief. So, an example: seeing another police shooting can trigger the same fight or flight response as if it happened directly to you. So, taking a social media break helps the nervous system, and it stops re-traumatization, and it helps you reclaim your peace, which is why I wanted to make this video, because in this age of technology, in this age of social media, this age of knowledge, it's so much at our fingertips to where we're on the toilet on the phone, we're in the shower on the phone, we're looking constantly for TikTok content, we're constantly looking to showcase something. And that can oversaturate our minds, our emotions, our nervous systems. So it is important, not only when traumatic things happen, but when you feel overwhelmed with social media and you realize that you're doom scrolling, or you realize that you're just going down a rabbit hole that's really not feeding or pouring into yourself, you need to have the awareness to step back. Not saying forever, but dang, girl, give yourself a 20-minute break. Give yourself a 30-minute break. Man, give yourself an hour break. See how you feel. And then figure out how you would like to adjust. Do you want more time off the phone? Less time off the phone? See what works for you personally, because there's no one size fits all to any of this, to any healing. It's really about what works for you. So, and then obviously, with different therapeutic self-care practices, I always like to tell people to do traditional grounding, obviously deep breathing. I'm a journal girl. I love therapy. I love meditating. But for people who aren't into that Zen kind of space, I always suggest exercising, burning off that steam and that stress at the gym, on a boxing bag, on the treadmill, on the elliptical, kickboxing class, Pilates, yoga. That helps a lot. And it's a constructive way to let out your feelings and your emotions while also tending to your body and your soul. Also, listen to music. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I have blasted music. Oh my God, whether it's Glorilla, Megan, Cardi, Nicki, DMX, Don Trip, anybody, okay? Anybody that gets you moving, that gets you confident, gets you saying, you know what, I'm that bitch, or I'm that person. That's what I want you to listen to. And then also taking take your butt outside and touch some grass. Like go on a hike. I cannot tell you how many people and clients have come in to my office before and don't just go outside and either start a garden, take a hike, just really pay attention to the Easter eggs has given us. Whatever. But also, another way for self care is start a hobby. Like that hobby that you've always been putting off, go do it. Go to Hobby Lobby. Go to the card store if you want to do Pokemon collections. Go to a music store. Go collect books. Go do what you want to do. Stop waiting on someone to give you permission to do it, and use that as a good distraction when you want to have social media breaks. And then also a good one for me is I love poetry slams, live music. I'm re-energizing through artwork. Oh my God, they got so many sipping paints, or if it's legal in your state, smoking paint. I mean, you can go to a rage room. That's really good. You can go on Groupon and probably get a $20 coupon for a rage room, especially during stressful times like this, and kind of just see what happens. See what see what you can do to heal yourself. So other practices, obviously getting a massage, but joy and creativity are resistance, and choosing life is part of healing. So no matter how much mud they sling, no matter how much stuff feels overwhelming or feels like we're not gonna get out of it, just hold on, and also learn to reframe and focus on the positive things that you do have in your life so that we don't focus so much on the negative. So, also, not just trying to bring up every killing or unaliving, but remember when Nia Wilson was killed on the train? I believe it was in New York. I think it was 2016. Charge it to my head and not my heart. But I remember the lack of outcry when that happened, and she was unalived by a white man as well. And they said that he had mental health issues. But that lack of outcry really bothered me because it made me question whose humanity gets amplified while whose pain is ignored. Answer us that question. Because we keep getting examples of society telling us that they don't care about us, but at the same time, we care enough about us to keep going. We don't necessarily need a pat on the back to say, you're welcomed. No, we are welcome. This is our birthright. So we're not going anywhere. Sorry, not sorry. But anyway, I'm sorry. Just the media pisses me off. But the media's conditioning creates unequal empathy. And it's time for us to start calling it out and asking for real journalism instead of this backwards community dividing BS that they continue to shove down our throats and we don't even want anymore because it's not working. So, this resilience also doesn't mean immunity, right? It means communities are carrying grief differently through faith, family, and cultural practices. So each racial event compounds existing grief, stretching resilience thinner, which is why it's important to take care of yourself and to utilize self care, but also create safe spaces for honest conversations. So now I want to really encourage you all to create safe spaces for you to process these traumatic experiences. You don't have to just, think about these things on your own. There are people within our community who feel and want to talk about these things. and I'm one of them. So if you ever want to talk, whether it's on the show or it's privately, send me a message. But this is real stuff, and we shouldn't take it lightly. So create family circles, HBCU forums, therapy groups, spiritual gatherings. You know, because even though I'm not a Christian, I don't go to church. I know a lot of people do. Do that as well. People that you feel safe around, people that you feel that you can be your authentic self without judgment, someone that does value your opinion and that will listen to understand and not listen to respond. Whew. Because honestly, be honest, it is okay to admit I'm tired, I'm afraid, or I'm hurt. Because we have the freedom to feel the full spectrum of our emotions. We do not have to put ourselves in a box. And it's okay to admit that this is a shitty time right now. I mean, it is. So, in closing, we know that media and politics profit from divide and conquer. The real enemy isn't your neighbor, it's the systems designed to pit us against each other. We need to unify more than ever. And I'm not just talking about black people, allies, everyone that's been marginalized, anyone that's been disenfranchised, anyone that's been left out, anyone that's been viewed as the underdog, anyone that doesn't feel valued but also wants equality for all. We need to come together. Like, this has gone on way too long. This is ridiculous at this point. I'm tired. And healing begins with the truth, not suppression. So I'm going to continue to talk about things as things come up, whether it's hot topics, whether it's uncomfortable conversations, whether it's difficult conversations, taboo conversations, pop culture, housewives, whatever. We're going to talk, okay? So stay tuned. We're going to get all this out the way because I'm here for you. And I'm here for me. And I'm not going to stop either. Because this is just too much. But anyway, we know they're here to divide and conquer. We need collective healing. We need to reclaim the narrative as well. We need to start building our own media companies. We need to start having our own news channels. We need to start doing things for us, by us, since no one else is. Closing. I want y'all to know that even though sometimes I do get angry, I get upset, I get flustered, or I get passionate, it is because humanity is important to me. Black people are important to me. And it's crazy because before, so many mentors and people would try to tell me that it wasn't beneficial to focus solely on black people in the black community. And I'm sad I ever listened to them, honestly, because I would have been a lot further. Because that is wrong. That is conditioning. That is showing and placating to society's unwritten, untrue, biased, BS rules about us, and that is that we're not profitable and that we're not important enough and that we don't have a large enough audience. And I'm saying that's bullshit. I'm focusing on us. I love us, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I'm never going to stop saying that. And if something changed, 5150 me because something's wrong. So, in closing, y'all know I love y'all. Y'all know I'm here for healing, positivity, black excellence, resilience, but also truth. So remember that love is always the ritual. Every delivery is divine. And put in the comments what you thought about this episode, if you would like me to talk more about it. And stay tuned. And remember to take some social media breaks. Protect each other because healing is resilience. And until next time, I love y'all, and I will see you soon next time on Lily's Delivery Service.